Well, today I decided it's time to go ahead and build a thermometer setup for my fermenter. Had some trouble with the brew before, especially it's getting cool this time of year. It's getting some snow flurries out now, so it's getting cold. So I decided now's a good time to go ahead and get a setup going with a little heat pad for the bottom of the fermenter. This is a digital temperature controller. And this is a stainless steel thermowell for the temperature probe. And basically, this kit here, you can get them all ready to go. I saved a few bucks by picking this digital one up, this Ranco up. It does come with the probe all ready to go. All I need to do is wire in my my actual plug, the plug that will actually go into the wall, and the other one that goes into this heat pad. So I'm going to pull everything apart, and we're going to go and we're going to get this thing wired up and test it all out. So this heat pad is it's made of a hard plastic. This is a Copper Tun unit. There's all different types that they make. Takes 25 watts of power, and it's made for, from what I've read, you can put anything from a plastic fermenter on here to glass ones and everything. They talk about that you're able to blaze anything from 6.3 to 7.4 US gallons on it. So it's definitely plenty strong, just laid on a flat surface. The range of it's made, if you don't want to use any sort of controller on it, it will put on its 25 watts, but they're saying you should be using it in like an ambient temperature, in the room of 53 to 59 degrees. Well, I'm not going to be down that cold with this, so that's why I'm definitely going to be using this probe and this whole setup. So basically this sits on a flat surface, boom, fermenter on top. This will get wired into something we're going to wire into here, and this gets put inside of our thermowell, which is inside of the fermenter. On the top of this, there's one hole is set up for the probe that I just showed you, and the other one's for the airlock. As far as the controller goes, this here will switch up to 16 amps, which is huge. I mean, this is probably like a quarter of 1 amp, probably what that is in power draw, so it's really low. And this is going to handle that no problem. It operates, it says negative 20 to 140 degrees. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, wide set point, sorry. Negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit to 220 degrees Fahrenheit. And the differential adjustment is from 1 to 30 degrees. So you could set this thing that says, hey, I'm okay if it drifts between 1 and 5 degrees or 2 degrees or whatever, and then I want you to kick it on to add more heat or whatever you're going to do with it. So, and these are some of the basic tools you're going to use. Some sort of screwdriver, Phillips flathead, wire stripper. I like to use a razor blade a lot of times to trim things back, and a tester to see that you've got things wired right might be useful, or at least just to tell you if if it's switching on or off. It's going to be hard to tell with that heat pad right away. Another thing would be just to plug a light bulb into it, probably the easiest way to test it. So it looks like there's 4 screws on top we have to take out. This model is a Ranco model. Another popular model is by Johnson Controls. There are digital ones like this one, which would be probably more precise to set, but there's also analog ones with just a simple knob that you can adjust your temperature as well. I don't know how exact I was worried about being. I just wanted to get things within a decent range, but I got a good price on this, so I decided to go with the digital. These are the kinds of pieces of equipment, if you buy them right, you're going to have them for a long, long time. So here we are on the inside of this guy, and here's where all of our different wiring connections are. So you can wire this thing for 120 volts in the US or 240 volts, and that's what these are for. And then here's your contacts out, how you're going to wire up the other end of the plug in order to switch your heat pad or whatever you're going to use to heat it up. There's a few options of things that you're going to need. One is you're going to need this is a line cord. This is an 18 gauge. It's more than enough to switch what we're switching. So that's a common one. You can get a couple of different, other ends for the other side of it here. It's a regular plug on one end, and we're going to mount this on the other side. There's this style as well. There's a few different kinds you can get. And you're also going to need, this is a 1/2-inch knockout, so you're going to use like some kind of conduit connector. I like this plastic kind here, because what happens when you squeeze it down is it'll tighten up all the wiring nice and tight. It's made of plastic like this, and it just goes inside. So those are our options basically. The other thing you can do, which is a much easier way, or not much but a little bit easier, just go ahead and buy yourself a short extension cord. It'll have one of these in end on both sides, and just cut it in half, and then we would wire it into here. So that's certainly another option. So I'm going to start by putting this connector on the box. The way these work is this piece stays on there, tight here, and you can adjust, and this piece comes out. Simply put it in. Next thing we'll do is take our cord. I decided to go with this little smaller thing. It's a little bit less bulky. So I think what I'm going to do first is, go ahead and wire it onto this other end of my line cord here. Again, if you bought an extension cord, you get to skip this step, which is probably the better way to do it. So I'm going to get this thing pulled apart here. Now if you're going to do what I'm doing with a razor blade, you got to be really careful, because you can't slice too far into the other wires. It'll break the shielding on these wires. So if you really don't know what you're doing with that, be careful, because if you do slice the other wires and you leave them like that without protecting them by either taping them or just redoing it again, you could be causing yourself a whole lot of trouble. So this particular line cord is shielded, so it has this extra drain wire on it. You don't need that for this. You can just take that off. That's an equipment kind of thing, maybe for like a computer, so you're not going to need to worry about that. So you can take that off and not be concerned about it. So after that, make sure you slide it into the hood first, otherwise you're going to be taking it apart again after you're done. Been there, done that, and over time and doing things like this. So, and you want to get these adjusted just about to the right length. So now when you look at this here, these are falling out here and there, but so your ground wire is here, okay? In this case, that'll be your green wire. That'll be going on that terminal. Then you've got a gold terminal, and if you look close, this screw is silver, okay? So you're for your hot and your neutral. So your gold terminal is going to be the black wire, and the white wire is going to be your neutral. That'll go on this silver one here. So when you make sure, when you screw these in, since this is all stranded wire, make sure you run the wire so that when it does go, you're going to twist these off first. I'll show you how to do it. Wrap it around here, but wrap it around so that when you're screwing it tight, it's going to screw down tight with the turn, not an unravel. So I'll just show you here in 1 second how to do that. Just get these all twisted first. You can tin them with solder if you want to as well, but you don't need to. As long as your strands don't get, start fraying and going all over the place. So in this case, they make these, easy for you to take these out. This here's the ground one, and it does have, it's hard to tell, but there's a little bit of a green screw. So certainly you can take these out, unscrew it, it'll stop. Take your wire here, feed it through this way, and looks like I got it cut pretty good length. You could take a small screwdriver or something like that and push these in. And you want, of course, your wiring to your sheeting to get right up to there, and slowly screw it into place. Okay. You're gonna get some fraying. Go ahead and just push it down, and then nice and tight. I don't know if you can see that well, but that's kind of what it looks like when it's done. So I had said that these are connected together, or I didn't mean together, actually I meant connected to the plastic here, so they didn't look like they would pop out, but they do pop out. So just so you know that the gold is the shorter one, and the silver is the longer blade. So in case they do pop out on you, that's how you put them back together. And that's pretty much it when they're all in there. I'm going to take, just to kind of hold things together, and I don't know, it's just a little extra precaution, not to put a lot because it won't close right, but I'm just going to throw a little bit of electrical tape, just one little quick wrap, just around these, to kind of keep everything together. Okay, so now that we got this there, let's see that we wired it right first. Now's the right time to do that. So we'll take this tester here, stick it into this side. Okay, and then correct lighting on this thing. These two lights should be on. This shouldn't be. So let's see if we got this thing right. And we look good. See, so those two are on, and that's our correct wiring. So now we got our hot, neutrals, and grounds, and everything's good. There's no problems with it at all. So now we're ready to move on. Our next step, I think I'm just going to cut this cord just straight up in half. I don't know if I should make it that long, or should I make, the plug side a little bit longer. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll make the maybe I'll just make this part shorter, and then make the actual line cord the long part. It's probably a better idea. So I'm just going to do something like that. So I'm going to take my cutter. You can use like this guy here, right at the back of the blade, and just cut it in half. And then we're going to strip the two ends back, the outside sheeting and everything, just like before, to get them ready to wire up. So once everything's stripped back, and you want to get these pretty long, because you're not wiring them, 3 wires here and 3 wires here. It's not going to be that way. You're going to be using some wire nuts, which I forgot to show you that you'll need, but you'll need some of those. You need a lot of length on these. So at this point, let's just take this thing off here. We'll fix our frayed wire up after we get it through here. Let's get everything slid up in here. So it is super tight getting them in there. They'll go. You just got to get a little aggressive with it. See, but it's got a nice clean finish. It looks really good, I think. So the other thing you want to be sure is when you're, going to go and wire this up, you need to know which wire is which wire. So if you're unsure, you could maybe put a make a little white mark or something on this side, and same thing on this side. You could use a digital multimeter, something like that, and really quickly you want to go on the continuity scale, and there's a number 1 there, and we can quickly just check, go to the, it doesn't really matter which one you grab, but so yeah, it's this side over here. I don't know if you can see that, but if I touch the wire in here, you're showing continuity. If I touch it over here, none of them are. So I do know that the wire that's traveling along the left side is definitely this. So that's good to know, because you don't want to blow out the controller or anything like that. So they have a diagram here. There's a few different diagrams. The one we're going to follow is the typical line voltage wiring diagram. And one thing you'll notice, they're not doing anything with the ground wire, and that's really, there's no place to wire. This is plastic. There's nowhere to ground this. So what we're going to do is we're going to wire nut the 2 green wires, which are the ground wires, together. So what you want to do is you want to line up the insulation there, so it's lined up, and you want the ends of the wires to be equal. If one's a little higher than the other, it could cause you some trouble with the wire nuts, so just cut them down. And you don't want to twist them together, just push them together. Grab the right wire nut and just start spinning it down. If it's the right size and everything's, it should tighten. You should start seeing the wires twist together. And that's good. That seems to be pretty good. And that's what we're going to do with the ground wire. You've got a common wire, and then you've got your 120 volt wire. So for common, just to keep things same, I'm gonna be using the white wire, the neutral wire for that. So what it's telling me is that off of the 120 volt plug portion, I'm going to be needing a wire to the common terminal on the top, up at the top part, and that's got to tie to the, I'm going to go right to the common terminal here. So basically the white wire of this side is going to get connected to this white wire, which is going to get connected to the common connection here, and also to the other common connection. So get yourself some spare wire, which again I forgot to tell you earlier. You need to have just a short piece, maybe 3-inch piece of white if you got it, and a 3-inch piece of black if you've got it. Depending on what your cord says, it'll be labeled on the outside how many gauge it is. It's going to be either 18 gauge or 16 gauge most likely. And if you didn't have enough, it would have been helpful to have told you in advance, but you could have cut a little bit of your cord off and used some of that. But you want to be at least the same gauge size. So if it's, if you're running with an 18 gauge, you want to be 18, 16, 14, something like that. You want to go, the lower it is, the wire, the thicker it is. So you're always okay to mix them that way in this case. So I need to take my white wire and I need to put it under the common terminal up at the top here. And next thing you're going to do after you have that connected there, so that would be my new wire little piece I have to the common at the top. Again, this is on this particular unit. Every unit's a little bit different. Now again, sometimes you can order these. Most of the brew houses are going to sell them to brew supply places are going to sell these already wired. You only have to do this. So, if you don't know what you're doing, just order one ready to go. It's probably worth the extra few bucks and the aggravation and maybe the things you don't have laying around your house to get it done right. But if you want to save a few bucks and you've got what you need, and certainly read your directions. I'm just going to try to give you a little bit of guidance on how this particular unit's going together. So all the common, we're going to call these wires, are all going to be twisted together with that one connection there. Next, I'm going to get my little piece of black wire that I'm going to cut here. Again, we're going to use the 120 volt side. We need this wire from here, and then the diagram is also telling us that we need the from the line cord side, we need that wire as well under the 120 volts at the top. This will be a little bit more difficult because I do have to stick 2 wires in there. So these you will want to twist together just enough to get them under there is fine. Okay, so then my lonely black wire that was connected to the 120 volt connection up here with the other wire, this gets wired down to here on the closed contact. So that goes all by itself here. So at the first terminal here on this case, that's where this one's going to go. Okay, and the last wire is the hot wire, the black wire. It's going to go under the normally open contact side on this side. Now these screw terminals are really tight, so when you're first loosening them, they don't come loosened. So you may think they are because the wire is going to slide in there, but it's not. You gotta really sometimes get it. Like I'm using this little screwdriver now to kind of get started, but to really tighten everything, you need to get the proper size screwdriver that's a little bit larger. There you go. Make sure everything's tight. You should be able to pull on it, each wire. So once you get everything there, you need to close everything up before you test it. So make sure you close up your box. Double check your wiring before you do, because if you wire wrong, you can blow something up and you just lost any money you thought you'd be saving by doing this yourself. Okay, after you plug the unit on, the screen goes through a little test, and then it pops up and tells you what the current temperature is. For my test, I decided to plug in a little light bulb. And let's just quickly see how it works. I'm going to hit the set. Looks like you can go between Fahrenheit and Celsius. I'm going to stay in Fahrenheit. Hit set again. And here's the setting. I'm going to set this thing, it's saying it's 70. I'm going to set it at 60. Now this is the differential. This is 5 degrees, meaning it's going to switch between how many, I want this thing to be on within 1 degree. If it goes 1 degree out, I want this thing to change. If it's too variable and it's jumping up and down like crazy, you can switch it to, let's say, 2 degrees or something, whatever you think. So I'm going to put that at 1. This is a cooling. You can either hit between cooling 1 or heating 1. I'm going to leave it on cooling 1, see what it does. It's set. Boom. As soon as I did, you can see our light kicked right on. 81. Boom. See, it dropped 1 degree, and then the light came on. So we definitely want to be on the heating cycle, not the cooling. That works. As the heater mat warms up, this will be us simulating that. It's within a 1 degree. Should see this thing warm up. And it turned right off. Boom. Now it's up 2 degrees. And that's pretty much how that's going to work. So as I'm testing everything, I decided, hey, let me see if this probe even fits in this hole. And it wouldn't go at all. It stopped right there. So I started sanding this plastic down a little bit, with some 220 sandpaper, and then using a little bit of 320 to kind of polish it out. And I've been working it pretty hard trying to keep it round. Now I'm getting it to start to go in now. It'll start to push in there. But again, you're never going to be able to pull this out without probably getting this whole thing stuck inside of the pipe. So I'm going to have to sand this whole thing down so it's really smooth. And I'm going to continue to do that so I can get this thing in and out easily enough. I don't know if I can use some sanitary lube on there or what to do maybe to help it out, but maybe some thermal grease. But I'm going to try not to have to use anything, so I'm going to continue to work on this for a minute here. Check yours first before you do anything. Okay, I'm happy to say after a little bit of sanding, it worked out fine. You can't even tell I sanded it. Pops right in and out. No problem at all. Looks good, cleaned up, it's smooth. You can't tell I sanded it. It didn't take much. Really, once you got past that initial part, when it's the whole black piece here, right there, got past the initial part, it went in nice and smooth. And now I got it nice and smooth going down. I can get it all the way to the bottom. People have been complaining about these stoppers not fitting right. Well, it fits really good on mine. There's not going to be an issue there. And the heating, obviously you're not going to have your brew hauler on when you put it on the pad. But it's heating just great. It's nice and warm. I have the set point working and everything's doing what it should. So call this one a success. We'll run it on our next brew project and see how it goes. Okay, we're going to test out our fermentation heater setup. So first thing you want to do is, of course, get everything sanitized in your sanitizer. Slide our thermowell in. actually. I guess I should have installed that first. So here's the final. I mean, I've heard a lot of people complain about this thermowell. You know, the stopper just getting so far in that you know it's just too small, and that's just not the case I'm having at all. Mine wants to keep sliding out. So I sanitized a couple of zip tie wraps here and just wrapped around here to hold this thing down nice and snug, and it seems to be working out pretty good. So I'm gonna go with that. Down here, if you can see, there is my fermenter heater, and I made sure that this, the sink is everything's all nice and dry. There's no issue there. And then that's why I plugged into our Ranco temp control. It's telling me that inside the fermenter we're at 75 degrees, warmer than I want to be. But I haven't applied any heat. When we first started this, I think it was exactly on 70. So just from the fermentation alone, the activity alone, it's raised it up 5 degrees. But basically that's it. Everything's just kind of wired in. And I just put another zip tie, behind here, and just hooked it to just a big clamp. And that's it. So I'm going to cover my fermenter back up with my towel to keep the sunlight and everything out of it. And well, this thing's ready to go. If it decides that it needs the heat, it's going to add it. It's set at 70 degrees, and it will adjust plus or minus 1 degree is what I have it set at. So it's starting to get cold outside, so we'll see how it goes. Just a quick update on how the heater's been going. It's been working really well. One thing I did to help contain the heat is I just draped this towel that I used to block, the light on the fermenter. I drape it over the edges of the heating plate. I mean, it's so low. It's like, it's nothing. It doesn't create much heat at all, but it's enough to help contain it inside, and it's done great. I've never seen this thing drop below 69, and outside this time of year has been in the teens. It's pretty cold. So, but it's been working perfectly, sticking usually between 69 and 70, and with plus or minus 1 degree, it could be as low as 68 or as high as 71. So overall, it's been working really, really well.